Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Kovar, the City Council member here in Takoma Park for Ward 1, and I want to thank those who are in the auditorium and also watching on Zoom for attending this meeting. And I do want to express my appreciation for the police department and Chief Duvall and his staff who are here this evening to talk about some of the recent trends that we've seen in terms of criminal activity around Ward 1. And I think some of the statistics may show that for the first quarter of the year, the numbers weren't as high, but I think what we've seen just in the last month or so, or maybe a bit longer, has been very concerning. And a number of the types of incidents we've seen have involved things that I think we haven't seen as much in the past, including break-ins of people's homes, then car keys were stolen, and then the cars were subsequently stolen, not to mention incidents that have happened on the street, including just today when the letter carrier for our area was robbed. And so this is a trend that is very concerning. I've heard from a lot of people in the neighborhood about it in Ward 1, from all the different sections of Ward 1. And so it seemed like a good idea to arrange this meeting so that we can hear about some of the recent cases. Again, the police can't necessarily say a great deal about cases that are still under investigation, but they can tell us what they can, what some of the recent trends and statistics are, steps they're taking and can take, and also steps that members of the public can take as well. And so before I turn it over to the police, Captain Sipperly will be the senior member of the department here. I do want to also acknowledge that our mayor is here, Mayor Kate Stewart, as well in the audience. And thanks again to everybody who's watching. And the event is being recorded as well. So for those who can't see it, and I guess they wouldn't see me saying this now, but you'll be able to watch it later too. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Sipperly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, good evening. I'm Captain Sipperly with the Police Department. I am currently the commander for the Criminal Investigations Division. I also have with me here at the meeting Lieutenant Williams, who is the Patrol Division Commander, as well as Sergeant Peterson, who is the supervisor of the Criminal Investigations Division, and Detective Glushkov. I understand that everyone is very concerned about all the burglaries and increasing crime in the Ward 1 area and some of the surrounding areas. I can only imagine how fearful it is to have someone enter your house in the nighttime and while everybody's sleeping. The police have taken this very seriously. I guess this all kind of began in the beginning of April of 2022, where we started noticing an increase in crimes. It kind of basically started around April 5th, where we had a stolen vehicle that in Langley Park, didn't pay much attention to it. And then we noticed another stolen vehicle on April 13th. And then we noticed there was another stolen vehicle on the 7400 block of New Hampshire Avenue. And then there was another one in between April 20th and 21st in the 7400 block of Carroll Avenue. So we noticed that all of a sudden now there was an increase of stolen vehicles, and the stolen vehicles kind of started in Langley Park area, and then all of a sudden started going along the Eastern Avenue corridor, leading up towards Takoma Avenue and some of the side streets associated with that. I was going to quickly kind of go over kind of the dates and the progression of how these suspects work, just so we kind of have an idea of what their path was. On May 4th, there was a stolen vehicle on Spruce Avenue, and that was recovered. On May 6th, there was another stolen vehicle on the 7600 block of New Hampshire Avenue, which was recovered, but no arrests. On May 10th through the 11th, there was another stolen vehicle in the 200 block of Park Avenue, which the vehicle was recovered as well, but no arrests. On May 28th, in the 7100 block of Carroll Avenue, there was an nighttime residential burglary. The suspect attempted to enter the victim's vehicle, and then the suspects attempted to enter the victim's residence by pulling on several door handles around the house. This occurred in the middle of the night.
That's scary.
On May 31st, there was another stolen vehicle on Hayward Court, and that vehicle was recovered as well, but there was no arrest. On June 1st, there was a nighttime residential burglary that occurred in the 500 block of Albany Avenue. The suspect entered the residence through an unsecured window and stole the victim's vehicle and other miscellaneous property. On June 3rd, there in the 6500 block of Second Avenue, there was also another attempt nighttime burglary. Video footage captured the suspect on the victim's porch at 3 a.m. and no entry was gained. The suspect just walked off the porch. On June 9th, in the 7100 block of Poplar Avenue, there was another nighttime residential burglary where the suspect entered the residence through an unsecured door and stole the victim's wallet, car keys, and stole the victim's vehicle. And again, this was during the nighttime hours. On June 12th, in the 500 block of Boston Avenue, there was another nighttime residential burglary where his vehicle was stolen. The suspect, it is unknown how the suspect gained entry. The suspect stole keys and then stole both the victim's vehicle. Both vehicles were recovered. And on June 13th, in the 6700 block of Goody Avenue, there was a nighttime residential burglary where the suspect entered through an unsecured window. The suspect stole the victim's vehicle and then stole the victim's vehicle keys and then the vehicle. And then on June 13th, in the 7500 block of Holly Avenue, there was a nighttime residential burglary, no forced entry, located, entered through an unsecured door actually, and stole the owner's vehicle. The incident that occurred, we noticed that the path was occurring along Eastern Avenue, and there were the side streets adjacent to Eastern Avenue, and then it was leading up Philadelphia Avenue, up a Holly. I think there was another incident on Tulip and Spruce, and then Boston Avenue and Albany. So it went all the way up to the college. But if you think about it, it all bordered Eastern Avenue or Carroll Avenue or Philadelphia Avenue. So just prior to the residential burglary on Boston, we put it together an operational detail with plainclothes officers as well as patrol officers to address the situation. The residential burglary from Boston was kind of the case breaker for us. Luckily, the victim was able to have a tracker device where it enabled us to locate a location where a vehicle was presently located, which led us to the recovery of 4 stolen vehicles that day in connection of the burglaries that occurred in Takoma Park, which also that same day also led to the arrest of a person who ultimately confessed to committing all of these crimes and stealing the vehicles. It is an ongoing investigation. So that's really kind of all I can kind of disclose at this point. But I can guarantee we currently do have a detail in progress now to address some of the ongoing issues. It seems like since the arrest of the individual that we had, all of a sudden on June 25th, everything was kind of quiet. And then on June 25th, we had a spike in crime over on Central Avenue, Jackson Avenue, and Garland Avenue. Same type of a method of operation where they were turning the doorknob in the middle of the night, and then but no vehicles were stolen. So we're not sure if it's related or not, but we're still looking into that. Okay. Did anybody have any questions pertaining to kind of how this transpired and how we developed an arrest? Yes. Yeah, I mean, we have reason to believe that he did not act alone. There are some video footage from residents, from the doorbell cameras and so forth that shows 2 suspects and even at times 3 suspects. So that's why it's kind of an ongoing investigation. We're trying to link some of the cases together. Every vehicle that was recovered, it was processed by the Detective Bureau. Relocated stolen property inside the vehicle that also connected additional victims in DC. So we are currently also working with DC police and working hand in hand together to try to identify any other possible suspects associated with this incident and make arrests pertaining to it.
So that people may hear on Zoom, we need to use the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Hi, quick question. There was a on June 3rd, there was another stolen vehicle that wasn't on your list.
Yeah, I didn't list all of them. I was just trying to get a general
Okay, thank you.
idea of where these burglaries were. I mean, there's other, like Fourth Avenue, I think was burglarized as well. There's several other incidents. Quincy Jones is the person that we arrested, and he confessed to pretty much all of the burglaries on Boston, Albany, and Holly, Spruce. There was several cases that he had confessed to. Yeah, he is currently still being held without bond at this time. He didn't really want to give up any information of who else may be associated with this. So, you know, right now we're just kind of working with surrounding jurisdictions, trying to locate these vehicles. We did note exactly where these vehicles were, developed a pattern, and that's kind of another way we were able to develop the suspect that we did and make an arrest.
I'm just curious, like, why do these people do this? Because I mean, it sounds like you recovered the cars, which suggests that they didn't, you know, drive them to sell them or for scrap or something. So why are they stealing the cars and then leaving them nearby? I mean, it's sort of curious
Well,
to me.
I mean, criminals work in different ways. Some of it is just, you know, young people joyriding, seeing what they can get away with. Some do for drugs. They'll try to sell, you know, property they steal from the house, and then they just dump off the car, and then they go and steal another car. You know, it's just a kind of a game to them sometimes. You know, we have interviewed people in the past where we ask them, well, why you picked Takoma Park? And they said, well, you know, Takoma Park is kind of like it seems like it's just the best area because it's kind of dark, and we just go around and we just try doors, we pull door handles, and it's just like a crime of opportunity for us. And we just kind of walk down the street and we look for something that, you know, potentially they just have an opportunity to steal something or break in. I mean, the biggest concern that I have in all of this is that probably 90% of all these residential burglaries, the doors were unlocked or a window was unlocked. And I get it, during the summer on cool nights, it's nice to open a window or, you know, save some energy and let the cool breeze in or let some light in during the day. But, you know, I highly encourage that if you are step out, even just for a few minutes, you make sure all the windows and doors are locked, because really all these guys are doing is walking up on the porches and turning the knob. If it's locked, they're turning around and walking away. So, and a lot of times they also check the door handles outside before. I think there was one case where they pulled the door handles to the car first, and then they went to the door and pulled that door. That didn't work, so they went around to another door and tried that handle. So that was kind of their method of operation. I mean, obviously, if someone wants to get in your house bad enough, they're going to get in, but typically they don't want to make noise. They want to be quiet. They like low dark, you know, atmosphere. So I'm going to kind of go over some safety things that you might want to consider for future reference. So
Also, one car, they left the fob in the car. So just by stepping on the brake and pushing the push to start, if it starts, you know, the key is in there somewhere. So and the car was unlocked. So that, and a lot of times if you leave a fob, the car won't lock because the fob, you know, keeps you from locking it in the car.
And on rare occasions, some people do have like fob readers. So if your keys are hanging close to the door by the window, they can just kind of walk by and it reads the fob number off of it, and they can kind of steal your car that way as well. Or even if you're in a store and you got your fob in your purse, they can kind of walk by you, and hopefully sometimes it reads the fob off of that too. Of course, they're gonna have to go around trying to find your car, which they do because they want to steal it. So, but my kudos go out to my investigators. They work really hard on this case. I believe there is one situation where patrol actually stopped a stolen vehicle associated with some of these incidents in DC, and were able to identify a couple of other potential suspects as well. So it's an ongoing investigation. Patrol has done a diligent job, you know, patrolling the streets, running tags, trying to see and look for suspicious people walking around, you know, just doing their part as much as possible to try to identify who these suspects are and try to recover a couple more vehicles. The good news is we've recovered just about every vehicle that was stolen. I think there's one or two maybe still outstanding. But our detectives did an excellent job processing these vehicles, identifying some additional victims in DC, and it's kind of like a big ring almost. And it's just a group of people that we suspect are going around doing this. Ever since we recovered the 4 vehicles and arrested Quincy Jones, there was a long pause between any more burglaries or stolen vehicles. And like I said, then on June 25th, we had Jackson Avenue, Central Avenue targeted. I don't think it's related because the MO is a little slightly different, but we're not counting it out at this point. Okay.
Hold on.
Yes.
Question.
It sounds, are these particularly young people? Is it juveniles?
The person that we arrested is 18. I can't really go
Okay.
into
All right.
details about
All right.
ages or who we kind of suspect at this
Yeah,
point.
and
So.
one more question. Do you guys recommend the club device at all? We used to use those. I used to live in Takoma, DC. There's a whole bunch of vehicle.
Well, absolutely. It's been a long time since I've heard it, so to be
I know.
honest with you, it seems like it's kind of going out of phase a little. But if they do have the club, then by all means, it's an extra security feature, and I would definitely use it. It is a form of deterrent and will make it a lot harder for them to steer your vehicle.
Do home security systems deter when you have signage out?
Yes, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm kind of go over a couple things, just to keep in mind when we're dealing with this kind of stuff. Is obviously the first thing is to keep your windows and doors locked, especially if you're going to step out for a few minutes, or you go to bed, always double check everything, make sure all your doors and windows are secured. And then also considering have a camera system installed. I can tell you, and we thank the community because the cooperation amongst neighbors, sharing their doorbell cameras with us and giving us footage has helped us tremendously. And in this case, as well as in numerous other cases. So I highly encourage some type of video system, which can help us and hopefully try to catch these people who break into cars and try to break into houses. Okay. Also consider having an alarm system, an audible alarm system may deter them. Is it going to prevent them 100%? Maybe not, because by the time we get the call and we get there, they're going to be in and out, but it could be a potential, deterrent for them. Okay. Another one is just to make sure your brushes and bushes and stuff are trimmed down, so it's not blocking your windows, because that gives them an opportunity to hide behind the bush and work with the window and try to get it open. So always try to keep your shrubbery and bushes down low, so it's not blocking the view. Also, we encourage people to kind of use curtains if they possibly can, because you don't want to advertise what you have. Okay, even with vehicles, theft from auto, property crime is a big problem still. And a lot of it is because, they're leaving items visible to the suspects. And all these guys are doing is walking down the street, finding a car door unlocked, and they pop it open. Every once in a while, somebody may see something they like and they'll bust out a window, but that's not as much as they do just kind of walking down the street trying to door handles. Okay. And just make sure that, you get your mail on a regular basis, newspapers, don't let things pile up or give the impression that you're not home, and kind of attract the bad guy who's trying to get into your house or do something else. Okay. Any questions about those? Okay. Also consider outside lighting. Suspects, like I said, like dark areas. So I would invest in a lighting system that's very bright, and maybe even, some people prefer motion detectors where all of a sudden it just goes off, boom, it lights up, and hopefully it could spook them away and deter them. But they definitely do not like, real lit areas. I mean, and sometimes people don't like it because, well, it's too much light, I can't sleep or whatever, but it's just another form of deterrent. And, we recommend that you have good lighting. And even at nighttime, you should keep your porch lights on anyway, so the police can find your house.
Also, so motion light, they are very sensitive, so the night critters can set it off too, your raccoons and deer and things like that.
And the biggest thing that you can do is to help the police, if you happen to become a victim, is to photograph all of your valuables and record all of your serial numbers. This is very important. I believe that we actually recently had a burglary on Sherman Avenue. We do not feel at this point it's related at this point, but we're not going to count it out. But, like I would photograph jewelry, any electronic equipment that you have, record serial numbers, All that stuff is very, valuable to the police because a lot of these people pawn property. And when we find something, we check the pawn databases. And if we find a serial match, then the police have a right to go up, put a hold on the property. And then we work with Montgomery County Police to retrieve the property. It also shows us who pawned the property, gives us a video, the name, the address, and everything. So it can really assist us with tracking down people and arresting them for stealing stuff. Okay. Any questions pertaining to any of that? Okay. Is there any questions on Zoom? No. Okay. Just some other information I'd like to share with you is the city does offer house checks. This is for residents who own a single family home. It's no more than 30 days or a minimum of 3 days. And it has to be a single family home and has to be an occupied dwelling and not for sale. So typically if you call the station and say, hey, I'm going out of town for a week, we'll be more than happy to fill out a vacant house request, and the officers will check your property at least once a day to make sure everything looks good. Yes.
I just had one question about that. I've used that service before. If someone's casing the area and they see the police go in there, is that sort of a tip off to them that, no one's home if they see that a couple of days in a row, or is that too far fetched?
It's possible. I mean, the odds are, I think, in our favor and the residents' favor, just to make sure that happens. It's very possible someone could be walking down the street that day. I think the officers are pretty conscious when they pull up. They're kind of looking around, see if anybody's hanging out, walking around, and then they'll just kind of get out and do a cursory around the premises, just make sure there's no signs of anything out of place or possible forced entry. I mean, we have located houses that were broken into on house checks, which is kind of good because it narrows down the time frame when something happened and helps us in our investigation. But like I said, typically, I don't think we've ever had an incident where it hindered. I think it's a more positive thing.
Well, I will say that I've used that a lot when I've traveled out of town. And for those who haven't yet, and it, not that anything's guaranteed, but it's a nice additional feeling to know that the guys are checking on that. And so I do recommend it. And it's really easy to just do it online. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You can
also-
call or do it online.
And also the positive to that, if you are staking out, they're probably, oh, the police are always around here. I'm not, never mind. I'll just.
Right.
punch
Just
someone
high
else, you know.
visibility. I mean, they really have no idea why you're walking around. You could be looking for somebody. They don't know. And another thing that we offer, and I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, no, go ahead.
So another question, it didn't seem like in any of the descriptions there was any violence or there's a burglary.
No, these guys that they were like very tippy-toed kind of people. They would walk up, turn the knob. If it was open, they'd be very quiet. They didn't go throughout the whole house. I think they just kind of targeted right where the key kitchen area was or wherever they found these car keys and whatever was close by, and then they rolled out and left. So I don't think that they were like going upstairs where people were sleeping or anything like that. I think they're basically concentrating right around the immediate area by the door and then leaving.
Because then today we just saw that there was an armed robbery of a mailman.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna talk
No.
about that.
Yeah, I'll touch base on that too. So right now, we don't have any additional information. We have a brief description of what the suspect looks like. The man was kind of making his deliveries, was approached at gunpoint. He was ordered to give up his property. He gave up his personal cell phone. No other mail property or mail was stolen or anything like that. I think it was like 1:15 this afternoon. So the postal inspector will be handling the investigation. I mean, we'll score it as an incident that occurred in Takoma Park, but because it's a postal employee, the postal inspectors will handle the investigation, but we will coordinate with them throughout the investigation. Oh, yes, he's fine. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Have you heard of this happening in other jurisdictions of postal workers being kind of targeted these days, or?
No, this is actually the first incident. I'm aware of.
Actually, so I learned some information earlier. There, the postal inspector that showed up actually was from a different division. They were so busy because they had one 15 minutes prior in another jurisdiction. But I think that made number 5 within the last couple days of postal workers being targeted.
Right. So, and we will be like circulating the area, trying to see if we can get any video footage from some of the residents in the area and put out bolos to other surrounding areas, you know, and obviously touch base with the postal inspectors to see how many they've had, what jurisdictions, and kind of coordinate with those, you know, agencies as well, just to see if we can develop a suspect associated with this. So, another program that the police department offers is residential and commercial surveys. So yeah, especially with all the residential burglaries occurring over the last couple of months, you know, I highly recommend that. There are a few officers that are trained in that, where an officer will come to your home and will inspect your home inside and out and give you safety tips and suggestions on what to do. They're merely just suggestions, up to you as homeowners to decide what you want to do and so forth like that. And they're merely recommendations. We don't typically recommend any particular companies or anything. That's totally up to you. But a lot of the information you get are some good suggestions and some good ideas and even some cool ideas that are cheap. And, you know, like for windows, you can like drill a little hole, stick a pin in it so they can't open up the window. It's very cheap and it's something that will help say, you know, protect your windows a little bit better, or putting a security bar at the bottom of your door to make it a little bit harder for someone to get in. So they go over all sorts of different aspects, your lighting, your shrubbery, everything outside and inside. So I would encourage you to take the time, give a call, set up an appointment, and we'll be happy to come out and do a survey for you at your residence, okay, as well as businesses, okay. Another program that is currently in effect, I mean, obviously we have a lot of theft from vehicles still kind of throughout the city, and catalytic converters are kind of an issue still. I believe, what's the name of the gas station?
Dolly's.
Grant
Automotive.
Yes. So they will etch your tag number on the bottom of the catalytic converter. So if it is stolen and somebody comes across it, we'll be able to run that tag and find out who the owner is, and, you know, hopefully, you know, close out some additional cases for those. So that's a program, and it's ongoing and running still.
We recently had a rash of airbags stolen also,
Yeah, that was up at
the apartments.
Yeah, 7333, 7401, New Hampshire. They had like 6 vehicles that had their airbags stolen. And another program that we have is the community cam program. The department uses the community cam program technology and is intended to assist investigators through the enhanced ability to quickly identify and locate available video surveillance systems through a community partnership that may assist investigators with identifying persons associated with various crimes. And it's basically just used in emergency situations and for evidentiary value. Okay, so basically you can call, you can register online, and you're registering your video system with the police department. And if something goes down, that way we have a list of who in that particular neighborhood who has video systems that we can contact requesting to share your video, so we can attempt to locate any suspects or anything. And, you know, only exigent circumstances with, you know, it's like a major type crime. You know, we would have an agreement where the police could go in, and it's only used for evidentiary purposes only. And, you know, you can go online, read about it, and decide whether that's something you would like to participate. But it is very useful in this case. In previous cases, the doorbell video cameras and other video systems has really helped the investigator solve a lot of crime. So if you don't have one, you might want to just kind of look into it and, you know, see if you like, that's something you're interested in. Okay. All right. I mean, that's pretty much what I have to offer. Do you have any other questions?
Oh, okay. Do I she just needs to unmute. Okay, Miss Davison, you can go ahead and unmute. You have to unmute. Am I supposed to unmute her?
Thank you.
Okay.
I live in a multi-family building, and I live in Victory Tower. So, and recently the cars on our lot were vandalized on the hidden side, you know, where the trees and bushes were. Those cars were vandalized, but my car, which faces Carroll, was not. So is there anything you can say? And we have no control over the parking space that's assigned to us. So is there anything that you can say that's special about multifamily buildings that you have to, to protect ourselves?
As far as 7051, I know that the front desk is monitored 24 hours a day. I'm not sure if they've done any updating of lighting on that side or what their camera situation is. But I'll just give you an example of 7333 New Hampshire Avenue recently had a video system put in. And it's like superb. It actually helped in one of our investigations. Because it's so clear and
Yeah.
but but that's up to the building what they're going to spend,
Right,
willing to
right.
spend for your safety. But
So, yeah, so you said the management was advised about the video, because I don't think they can see, they can't see the lot.
right, they can
really.
only see out front, not the
Yeah.
side of the building. But I can stop by down there because they're there 24 hours at the desk. I can go down and talk to them about some of their security.
Yeah, good.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say on behalf of my partner and I, we were one of the homes that were burglarized, and just real appreciation for how your officers showed up that night, comforted us, searched neighborhood, found some of our property
Yeah,
that was
certainly.
stolen,
Yes.
and particular props to Lieutenant Butler, who's been great to work with. And it looks like our money's gone, but it looks like most of the property's back. So I just want to express appreciation for the officers and particularly Lieutenant Butler.
All right, great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I'm another person that that you've mentioned. And I also just want to express my deep appreciation to you and your area officer. They've been at my house multiple times and they are so professional, so hardworking, but also very compassionate. And this is a traumatic thing. When
Yes, it absolutely is. Like I said,
And,
I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, I don't know how I would react if someone broke into my house in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I'd be very, like my privacy was, trespassed upon, and it would just make me feel horrible. So I can only imagine what the community's been going through. And believe me, the police department is doing everything that we possibly can to try to shut this operation down and make as many arrests as we can and kind of try to make you feel at peace. So,
well, thank you. And
Mhm.
thank you,
Real-
Peter, for having this meeting.
Oh,
Thank you.
real quick, can we take one for, is it Mr. Sprecher? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's
Sprecher, okay,
that's good enough. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
I mean, this is kind of getting into the weeds, but when you steal a car and take it across the state line, it's a federal offense. So, I mean, I guess you can't charge people with a federal offense, but would you get the FBI or whomever else might be appropriate involved in a situation like this, or do you typically not go there?
I don't believe the federal government would really get involved in a situation like this. We coordinate with, it's a felony. And typically we work with the surrounding jurisdictions to identify these people and to shut it down. The federal agencies usually typically do not get involved in cases like this.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is your advice for victims of these kinds of crimes should you wake up and there's somebody in your house? Like, what is the best way to
But
behave?
go into a secured room and call the police, lock your
Right.
door.
Do
and
not confront the person.
No, I would not
them.
confront the person. To stay in your room, lock the door, call the police. Our dispatcher should instruct you to stay on the line with them the whole entire time until the police arrives. And then the police dispatcher will give you instructions based on what the officers tell you to do once they arrive on the scene, and they take care of securing the outside of the property and make sure everything's safe. So, but I would never, ever confront a suspect at all, because you don't know who they are, what they are, if they're going to be armed or what the situation may be.
Can I ask a question about who they are, what you know so far? Are they young men? Are they local? Are they
Okay.
Takoma Park folks, or are they
yeah.
armed when they come in the houses?
Yeah, hold on one second, because she had a second part of her question. We'll address that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Gone off, you know, and alert the police and they come. And I always wonder, what should I do if in the middle of the night? What if people go,
No, I would just, once again, just call the police, say, look, my alarm system's going off. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm scared. Can you please have the police come and check? And just sit tight. And like I said, the officers will direct the dispatcher, tell you what to do at that point. You know, the officers will respond. First of all, check the exterior of the property, make sure there's no signs of any type of entry. And then from there, the dispatch will advise you, okay, well, come outside, meet the officers at the front door, whatever the situation may be. And the biggest thing that we really stress to everybody is to, if you see something, say something to us. I can't tell you how many times where we've gotten phone calls and say, well, yeah, I saw something the other day, but I wasn't sure. And, that information could be very valuable if it was called in at that particular time. Waiting 2 or 3 days, yes, the information may be helpful, but it's even more helpful if we get it right then and there. And I understand some people don't want to get involved or they're scared or, whatever the situation may be, but we really, truly encourage you guys, if you see something and it doesn't feel right, their actions and their behavior, that just is not right. And so we encourage you to please call us right then and there and let us respond, take care of it. If it turns out to be absolutely nothing, then that's great. And if it turns out to be something, then we could have maybe prevented a major crime going down or a series of crimes going down. So it's really important to work together with the police and the community. And I praise you guys because all of you have really worked well with the police department, communicate with us, and supported us through this whole entire thing, trying to resolve this issue. So we truly appreciate you guys as well.
Okay, did you want to address the question that came about the suspects? Are we
Yes,
have-
I mean, the only thing pertaining to the suspects is the person that we arrested is 18 years of age. As I indicated earlier, this is an ongoing investigation. I can't really go into details of, the ages associated with this or any other type of information. But I can just assure you that we are working with DC Police and other surrounding jurisdictions, trying to identify as many people associated with this incident as possible.
Can I follow up on that and just ask, are they casing our houses? Should we be looking for young 18-year-olds who might be looking at our houses?
That's I don't know. I can't really answer that question. It's very possible that they are driving down the street slowly during the day, trying to pick a target and then come back later that night. Or it could just be a moment of opportunity where they just park their car on the street and just start walking, trying doorknobs, trying to see where they can get in. At this point, it's kind of unclear if they're, driving around earlier or just doing it, on a whim.
Can I just follow up first on the question of calling if you see something? I know some people worry that, oh, well, I'm being, unreasonable and there's nothing really wrong with the young person who's there. And I know the chief has talked a lot about how our force is trained to not escalate situations and to be able to tell the difference between someone who's perfectly entitled to be there versus someone who's up to something bad. But I know people do worry about that. So can you talk a little bit about how you ensure that, if you do come upon somebody based on a call, it's not going to turn into some horrible incident?
Like if the police stop them or if you.
No, if the police do, based on a call they receive from the community.
Well, I mean, the police, will pull up and just talk to the person. I mean, if they have not committed a crime, it's just basically called a contact. And say, hey man, how you doing? What's your name? What are you doing in the area? Can I help you with something? And if he tells me, I got nothing to say to you, well, then that person has every right to walk away. Unless we start developing reasonable suspicion and we think that there's something going on with this person and they've kind of escalated the situation based on some things that they said or their movements or something's going on, then most likely it's just going to be a casual conversation and we'll try to get their information, document who they are, record it on a field interview report just to show that we stopped this person and we send them on their way, but they do have a right just to walk away from us if we have no other reasons to stop them.
So one of the other things is people, and, for example, my wife went out last night. So people and maybe older people walking around the neighborhood. You know, it's fairly routine for people who live where many of us live, to walk into Old Town at night for meet a friend and then walk home.
Mhm.
If someone's concerned, is there some way they could get some, transportation help if they felt like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be out here by myself, or what are the things to look for if you are walking at night, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I tell people, you kind of know what's right and wrong when you're out sitting on your front porch and you're just watching the area. Usually people walk with a purpose, and if you see someone just kind of walking around, just kind of checking everything out, that's not normal behavior. Usually if you're walking down the street, you're just walking, you find your own business. So when you start seeing that person slowing down and staring at houses, or maybe occasionally just kind of tugging on a car door or something, or down in your gut, you just don't feel that what they're doing is right, or you've never seen them in the neighborhood. You know your neighborhood better than anybody else. If you see someone that's kind of lingering in your neighborhood, you can call us and just say, look, I don't know if anything's going on with this person. I don't recognize the person. To me, he's acting a little suspicious, or his behavior. And of course, try to explain what he's doing that's suspicious, so the officers kind of have a general idea of what they're dealing with. I don't know if I answered your question, but
I think also, I think a bit of all of us are guilty of technology abuse when we're walking. It's so important to see what's on our phone and what music's playing, and we have our ears plugged and we got our hands full and we're busy not paying attention. And I think that is one of the biggest things that we forget about, is our own surroundings. That phone call or that thing that's on sale, that email can wait a few minutes until you get home, or things like that. And I think we forget that because, technology has evolved so much, over the years. And also going back to, reporting things. Sometimes people, we may go to a neighborhood and this person reported their car was broken into, but the other neighbor will come out and say, well, my car was rifled through too, but all that was taken was change. Okay, well, $2.25 to you may be nothing, but what if several streets over, that particular victim does construction and every single tool that he has is in that van? Now his livelihood has been affected. He can't go to work, but you can always replace your $2.25. So things like that are important because it tracks, movement and things like that. And I think we forget that. Yes, I understand, maybe the only reason why someone broke into car is because they were looking for change for food. And that's a quality of life issue, but that doesn't give the right to somebody to go into your private property and get that. So we need to get away from that and, and just, if you need something, ask. But, I just think that reporting it, no matter how minute it is, it's important.
One last thing, and I don't mean to monopolize the questions. A lot of people say to me, can the police do more patrols? Now, it's obvious you're doing a lot and you're doing these investigations and you caught somebody and you're out there. And I think your responses to the people who were victimized were helpful and sensitive. But of course, the ideal is for it not to happen to begin with. So I'm not going to say just because I haven't seen X number of patrol cars that they aren't happening, but can you talk a little bit about that? And can you do more just to sort of be visible?
I'll refer that to Lieutenant Williams, since he's in
Yeah.
charge of patrol.
At any given time, we have a minimum staffing of 4 officers at one time on a squad, up to 6 or 7 if people are on leave. But if we get to below 4, then we'll have to call somebody else in because we need a minimum of 4. But I think Takoma Park has over 70 miles of street, if I'm not mistaken. The mayor's nodding yes. So if you don't, sometimes people say, well, I don't see you. Well, maybe we're on the other 67 miles, but but officers are, and some officers actually, we have these things called riding lights. They're just the little ones on the mirror that are red and blue. So that, even if they do, scare off somebody, well, okay, that's good because they can see the red and blue lights. They're not the strobes, they're just like little marker lights that, oh, okay, there's somebody really close. So, but yeah, officers are patrolling at night. And, one of the other issues we're having is the shopliftings in our shopping districts, mostly around in the Hampshire Langley area. And, it's the same ones, and we keep, you know, a lot of times we can't necessarily arrest them and take them up the road because, you know, it has to be a certain amount and things like that. But usually if we go get a warrant, then we can kind of fix that for a little while until they release them from jail. But yeah, we're always out and about. I mean, you know, like I said, there's 4 officers minimum for the 2.5 square miles. So, and you know, 70 miles of street to cover. It's a lot. Yes, ma'am.
To piggyback on the whole idea of reporting, some of us live right behind like the middle school and Piney Branch School and all of that. School is out now, so it's real quiet, very nice. you know.
Yes.
But when school is in, sometimes it gets really, really rowdy along Grant, Darwin, Holly, you know, just those couple of streets there. And little things happen like, you know, a kid throws a ball at somebody's front door. Or, you know, there's graffiti. I have an abandoned house next door to me, and there was some really profane graffiti sprayed along the whole back of that house. I feel that those things should be reported. That is quality of life stuff. It's
Absolutely.
not, you know, a misdemeanor to throw a ball at somebody's house, but there's kind of a split in the neighborhood where a lot of people feel like, oh, kids will be kids. And, you know, we don't want them to have confrontations with police at that age because it, you know, they go on to do poorly in high school. And I'm like, no, you know, and people say, go outside and talk to the kids. No. I mean, in my mind, I don't know what those kids might be hopped up on. I don't know what, if they're carrying weapons. I'm not going to go out and confront kids who are throwing things at people's doors and whatnot. I mean,
Yeah, I think some of the hype and me and the mayor, we've all been on we have a principals area meeting, and I've, you know, was pretty much in contact with the principal of the middle school weekly.
yeah.
And a lot of it, I don't necessarily want to blame everything on the pandemic, but you know, when these kids come back and then they just have this energy and they don't know what to do. But near the end of the school year, we actually, we got with the rec department. So they were outside so they can corral the kids that are in the programs to just come in and get, if you're not part of the program, then, you know, go on your way. Let's get the kids all in one group. Then after everybody disperses, we had, you know, cars on Grant Avenue, things like that. But hopefully, you know, I can, if Miss Martin is there in the fall, I can get with her and maybe we can strategically, you know, get some things so they can have rules to go by and say, look, the way that you handle yourself outside of school is just as important as the way you handle yourself inside, and it should be an expectation. So, but yeah, that's something I'll
any presence that you guys can have in that little window between 3 p.m. and 3:20. It's helpful.
Yeah, we even got the park police involved because there was a lot of fights and yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to go back to the earlier question about like police presence, because I know a number of years ago, I live on Elm and Sycamore, when we had a number of break-ins up and down Sycamore, that we make sure people also know that we have undercover plainclothes, whatever we're calling them these days, officers who may be in the area, and they just, you may not see an officer in a uniform, but that doesn't mean you all don't have a presence out there, especially when we're looking at, you know, multiple break-ins or things.
Exactly. We currently do have a detail with several undercover officers working during the night shift to monitor these residential areas.
But we do have some vigilant neighbors that have called on those officers.
That's right.
They think
They have.
out.
That's right, which is good. They're watching. So yeah, exactly. All right, unless anybody has any other questions, we can kind of move on and we'll start going into the statistics for the first quarter. Okay. Okay, I think we got it up and running now on Zoom. Oh, that is not working.
It's not gonna show the whole page. I
No,
think
it's
you're just
not?
gonna have to kind of scroll. It,
Mhm.
yeah. Is there a way to make it like the page? Okay.
As just to let you know, Zara Charles, she's our new crime analyst. So she's the one who put these numbers together. And recently, came from Florida, and she was married December 19th. She relocated to Maryland in February to be with her husband and to live here. And we recently hired her. Unfortunately, last Sunday, her husband, suffered from a brain aneurysm and died. So it's very unfortunate. So just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And yeah, I can only imagine what she's going through for such a short time being with her husband. So, but she did a great job putting this together, and I'll try to walk through it the best I can since she put it all together for us. But believe me, if you have any questions or anything, please do not hesitate to ask. It's any smaller.
You want to use
Where's
this?
this?
Yeah.
All right, so does it show the introduction on this?
We're old school technology.
Yeah. Let's see.
I don't know.
Hopefully I didn't put the wrong one.
Oh, yeah, I don't think the introduction's on this one.
All right, well, hopefully it's the correct one.
Okay.
So overall, part one crimes were down by 11.47%, from 218 to 193 reported crimes compared to the first quarter of 2021. The city has seen a decrease in several part one crimes. Homicide was down 66.67% from 3 to 1 reported crimes. Rape is down by 66.67%. From 3 to 1 reported crimes, and robbery is down by 42.86% from 14 to 8 reported crimes. Auto theft is down by 31.82% from 22 to 15 reported crimes, and theft from autos down by 42.71% from 96 to 55 reported crimes. However, assaults have increased by 475% from 4 to 23 reported crimes in the first quarter.
Let's see, San Francisco, Houston, Dallas.
What happened?
Jeopardy.
Somebody needs to hit mute.
What is 475%? No, you don't get it. Never mind.
Okay.
You're not guessing?
Okay. Where was I? Okay, so like I said, however, the assaults have increased 475 from 4 to 23 reported crimes in the first quarter of 22 compared to that in 2021. And I did a little bit of research, and 11 out of those 23 reported assaults are either domestic related or acquaintances. So it's not like we just have people going around just assaulting 23 people. A lot of domestic violence is incorporated into assaults, as well as two friends getting in a scuffle in the apartment or stuff like that. So it's you kind of have to take that into consideration. I think it comes out to like 109 or 100 something percent difference between that. Larceny has increased by 23.33% from 60 to 74 reported crimes. And it still seems that that's still on the rise. I mean, it's still kind of like a steady thing. So I know our patrol guys are patrolling the streets and trying to, see if they can stop people walking the streets, trying to identify as many people as they can. There was also an increase in overall crime in Ward 3 and Ward 4 compared to last year's first quarter. Ward 3 increased by 21.88% from 32 to 39 reported crimes, and Ward 4 increased by 7.69% from 13 to 14 reported crimes. A review of all first quarter crime reports revealed Ward 6 encompasses the majority of reported crime statistics, with approximately 45% of the overall crime stats within the city. Okay.
Just
You
so
go back
basic-
a page.
Okay, back
I
a
think
page. This is,
where the thing.
this is the year comparison.
Okay, we'll just skip to that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so part one crimes comparison, first quarter 2021 versus quarter 2022. Is this kind of showing you the overall for the first quarter? You can see in 2021, we had 3 homicides. This year, so far in the first quarter, we've had 1 homicide. 2021, we had 3 rapes. This year, we've had 1 so far. 2021, we had 14 robberies, and in 2022, we've had 8 so far. 4 assaults in 2021 and 23 in 2022, which gives us the +4 is 75%. Burglaries is kind of even, but that's going to kind of obviously escalate the second quarter. So I would look for these numbers to increase considerably during the next quarter. And larceny, 2021, we had 60, and 2022, we've had 74. We're going to monitor this carefully because I suspect those numbers will probably increase over the next quarter as well. And hopefully we can, with good police work and community relations, we can hopefully try to minimize these numbers from increasing even more. Auto theft is down 22 in 2021 and 15 in 2022. The second quarter, we were hit really hard. We've had several stolen vehicles, and in addition to the burglaries where the vehicles were stolen from the owners, there were several other stolen vehicles where the vehicles were just stolen. So I look for a spike in this number to go up next quarter. Theft from autos in 2021 is 96, 2022 is 55. I think theft from autos have been running kind of consistently, so I'd look for maybe a slight decrease, but we still may be down slightly next quarter, but it may be very close. So overall, in 2021, there was 218 reported crimes, and then 2022 so far we've had 193 during the first quarter. But with all that said and done, we're still down 11.47% overall for the first quarter for this year. Below that is this kind of a chart showing 2021 and 2022. Now we have wards comparisons. For the first quarter, we got Ward 1 had a total of 29 in 2021 and 10 for 2022, the -65.52%. Ward 2 is pretty much equal, the same so far. Ward 3 at 32 to 39 with an increase of 21.88%, and Ward 4 13 for 2021 and 8 for 2022, the -0.57%. And Ward 6 at 89 in 2021 and 86 with a -3.37%. So it's almost pretty much equal at this point for Ward 6. And below that is just a chart kind of showing the crimes and where they're at, and the increases and decreases.
If I can add to this and correct me if I'm wrong, the 4 homicides in the 2 years have all been solved with the as for criminal investigations that are in litigation still.
Yes.
So just, the most violent thing, they have all been solved and their case
Yes.
closed, waiting, pending. Then that's a big help on, the criminal investigations division on that.
Just to be clear, right, some of the stuff we talked about at the beginning of this meeting wouldn't be reflected here.
Right. This is only going from January to April. The next quarter will be the next 4 months. So then I would expect in a lot of categories, the numbers to go up. Some may go down. It just depends on how the rest of the quarter, plays out for
Yeah,
the second
actually,
quarter.
Today's the last day of the quarter, of the second quarter, so.
Yeah. So the next one is just kind of like a pie chart, kind of showing the percentages of crimes. So obviously green is Ward 6, blue is Ward 5, and so forth. Kind of gives you a percentage breakdown in the pie chart. Which one am I? This one. Okay. All right. So Ward 1 crime stats. As you can see, there was a total of 10 incidents for the first quarter only. Larceny, there was a total of 3. Theft from auto, there was a total of 5. Auto thefts, there was reported 2, which makes your total of 10 for the first quarter. And like I said, I would look for the numbers to change drastically for the second quarter due to all the burglaries and all stolen vehicles and so forth. Probably not by too much because these residential burglaries affect other wards as well. So, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out per ward and it really, we'll see how much each ward was impacted by these incidents.
Because real quick, our wards are different than our crime beats. So, we're thinking crime beats and I've been here 21 years and I still don't understand the wards, but yeah, so we think of the crime beats, but seeing it from the ward, it breaks it down a little more.
Yes. So Ward 2, they look like they had 1 homicide. They had 1 rape, 8 robberies, 23 assaults. No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one here. So it looks like they had 2 reported assaults. They had 5 burglaries, 10 larcenies, 19 theft from vehicles, and 3 auto thefts for a total of 39 reported incidents.
You're on 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. And then Ward 4, they had 1 homicide. Let me look down here. They had 1 robbery, 2 robberies. They had 2 assaults, 2 burglaries, they had 1 larceny, 1 theft from auto, and 0 auto thefts for a total of 8 reported crimes. And Ward 6. Missing a page, I think. Ward 6 had 6 robberies, 11 assaults, 3 burglaries, 45 larcenies, 12 theft from autos, 8 auto thefts for a total of 86 reported crimes. So I mean, Ward 6 is the Langley Park area down that way. It's a pretty very heavy populated area and we get a lot of crime. So, with 4 officers on the road, a lot of resources are spent down there, but I know all our officers in their downtimes patrol, all the other surrounding areas and side streets to make sure they monitor all the stuff that goes down. But does anybody have any questions where we are with statistics and so forth like that?
Can I ask one quick question? Is there any sense that in any of the wards where they have a higher crime rate that there's gangs involved?
I mean, at this point, we don't have any indication that there's crime or gangs associated with these crimes. I think it just has to deal with the geographical area, the population. There's many multiple factors that go into crimes. When you have multiple businesses and apartment buildings and stuff like that, there's a lot more people, which is a tendency to bring up the crime in that particular area that I found over the years. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Kovar, do you want to say anything else or? Mayor? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for all of your time and look forward to working with you guys in the future.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you.
That's it.